Today I'm going to show you how I make a cat friend for a little mouse with one wire and some wool. This is my coral wool. I've got a big clump of it just to start making the body of the kitten. And here I show you just loosely felting into a roundabout shape for the cat body. I'm not felting too firmly because I will be adding color later, and that will really bring it into its shape and form. Right now I'm just rolling and pulling out some VM as well, rolling and felting and turning it, making sure that I'm felting the same amount on all parts of it as I roll. And here you see I have the form ready. It's firm, it's not too firm, and it's ready to have color added to it. This is a new piece of wool I'm showing you. I just tie it into a knot to create a general head shape. I'm going to attach this by the loose fluff. I will make sure that I anchor in the ball of wool for the head using the loose fluff first. And here is just kind of a pig in a blanket sort of deal. We just wrap it around and cover where that connection is, the head to the body, so that it's reinforced, and make sure that we incorporate it fully into the shape we're going for. Stab, 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 showing you how I stab, stabbing, more stabbing, so relaxing. We love to stab things to make them into art. Also, thank you for visiting my channel. I do appreciate. Stab, stab, stabbing, more stabbing. You can see the head shape looks more with one. It's more united with the whole body now with that extra piece I added. This is an awl, and I'm just starting a hole and following through with the piece of wire that will be the tail of the cat. This is the only wire I'm using in this. This is just a basic cat, no legs or anything like that, no armature, but it's always fun to add a tail to things. So I'm just showing you how I stab it through, pull it through, and then I loop it to really make sure that it stays in there so it has the wool fixed in between the loop, right? And then I'm going to cut off the excess, and I will begin to twist here. I firmly hold it where it's inside of the wool and want to pinch that down with my pliers to kind of catch the wool in there and make sure that it's really pinching in. Now we twist, twist, twist some more, and twist. I will be shortening this off camera, and you always need to bend over the end of your wire so you don't have a sharp end poking through your wool. So I've done that, and I'm showing you how I'm trying to match the cat to the mouse. The mouse really wanted a matching friend and doesn't have very good common sense, so he is looking to befriend this kitten. I hope all things go well for him. His chances are probably higher in keeping this friendship nice and safe if the kitten thinks that the mouse is a kitten as well, perhaps. We're fingers crossed over here. We're just hoping the kitten sees the mouse as the same color and close to the same size, and maybe it will be friend, not food. I'm showing you how I'm anchoring the wool to the body, and then I'm going to go from there to wrap it around the tail. This is the technique I always use. I always wrap in one direction, and I am always pulling the wool taut, nice and firm, but not too firm to where the wool would come apart. Also, you may ask what kind of wool I'm using. This is a Maori. It's very short staple, but I love the feltability of it. You can find it in several different people's shops on Etsy. Wrap, wrap, wrap. The end, if you've never done this, you may want to pause it, rewind, watch it again. It takes a while of doing this to really make it a habit. So what I do here is I wrap it over, and then I start to come at a diagonal. I'm undoing it and doing it again to show you. It's a diagonal wrap at this point. So I'm kind of doing a crisscross, and you have to be careful so it doesn't slip off the end of your wire. So you want to make sure that at the same time you are pulling it taut, you are keeping tension, and then you seal it up with a straight wrap around after you do the diagonal. And then you just felt it in with a single needle. Careful that you do not bend or break your needle. Try to miss the wire and get it as close as possible. Then I'm going to travel down the tail, secure as much wool on there as I possibly can. If you are pulling the wool very tight as you wrap, you don't have to worry too much about felting it to the tail. The wrap that you do will be secured by where you started and where you end a great deal. And then wherever there's some wool, it's a little excess, you have a really good chance of stapling it in there. So felt to your heart's content, wherever you have some extra wool along the tail against the wire, where you won't risk breaking your needle. So obviously I have a lot of excess wool at the end of the tail, and I can felt a lot there. So here I am traveling carefully. If you're not used to doing this, you may want to go a little slower. And then you want to felt in and out close together to sort of form stitched areas that are really closely felted together, if that makes sense. Showing you now just how you can curl the tail around your finger. And then I'm going to make sure that I add, I'm starting at the behind to really secure that area first. So I'm make sure that I firmly felt. I do a lot of felting off camera for this video. I'm really doing a lot of firmer felting off camera. So the firmer the felt, the less likely it will come apart and unravel and fray over years of handling storage. Also, be warned, if you're new to felting, cats and dogs do love to sniff it out and make it their chew toys. So you will probably want to store your wool items away from your pets. Here I'm just adding some extra wool to the base of the tail. I like the look of a fatter tail at the base and then at the end, and it kind of gives it a little cartoon characteristic by just leaving it a little skinny around the curled part. But you can make it as fat as you want. You can always have a little loose wool hanging off of it if you want a shaggy tail. Like towards the end, you could just kind of felt just some wool across the top, and then it'll look like feathered fur coming off. Stab, 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 stab. So at this point, with all the wool that I've put on there, the tail should be pretty good. The amount of felting. I have found felting very cathartic. I've been addicted to it for years. It's a great therapy tool. Okay, as I said off camera, I felted it pretty firmly. You see the body shrink over the length of the video because the wool is really becoming compressed. Here I'm just showing you how I do some general shaping to the face. A cat's face obviously has like wider jaws, and then it kind of tapers smaller to the front. And then I have made eye indentions. And just kind of made like just a general head shape. It's going to shrink as well when I add more wool for color. So yes, I just like to get the as much of the shape sculpted out on the core wool before I add the layers of color. Off camera again, I've added the color. And here we will be making the ears. You want to make sure that you have an even amount of wool in each pile, each stack. Just start with a general size of what you think the ears should be. You could do them smaller. Mine are a little oversized for my cat, honestly. But again, I like sometimes when I'm doing a silly project, I just like to go a little caricature type style with it. That is my needle holder off to the side that my husband made me. It's a wooden base. And then I made a wool insert in the top, and I just stick all my needles in that. He has made a couple of them for me recently, and I will be listing them on my Etsy shop along with this kitty cat and mouse. I'll link my Etsy shop in the description. So this is an 8 needle punch tool. I prefer it over the clover that a lot of people use. I just think that it really gets the job done a little better, and it's not as noisy as the plastic clink clink sound. I do have a clover tool. I honestly I rarely use it. I use this one much more, and I like the feel of the wood, honestly. If I'm using something, I mean, the clover pin tool that I have here is kind of a standard felting tool. If it was wooden, I would love that. So yeah, I'm just going with a triangular shape. And I will lessen the firmness that I'm felting with, like the force. I'll lessen the force as I get this felted down, because if you keep going with the same amount of force, you're just going to keep sending wool to the back and forth, and it's going to be sticking up on one side or the other. So then I lighten it, so as the little pieces of wool are sticking up from the other side, I kind of tap it back in lightly to get a better finish. Not so fuzzy. Try to match the size and shape. So I'm constantly comparing one to the other. We want to make even ears. Again, you can maybe tell by the whiteness of my knuckles that I am doing it rather forcefully right now, and then I will lighten my force in a second. Those are pretty similar. I'm showing you right where they're going to go, and also comparing to the head size. Just want to make sure that it looks somewhat proportionate, but still silly. Here is some really light pink, and I want a really thin, almost transparent layer. I just want a hint of pink, nothing overwhelming. And I want to point out that I am using the tool at an angle. I'm sort of inserting the wool underneath the surface, kind of injecting it in, not going all the way through to the other side. So I'm using an angular technique here instead of straight up and down, because you don't want a lot of pink showing through on the back of the ear. So you can see I've accomplished that. I've just left it faded more towards the top and more concentrated pink at the bottom of the ear. I'm just kind of lightly tapping it in. You want to go over it enough times where it's secure. It's not going to be able to just peel off of the ear easily. You just don't want to make it go through to the back of the ear is the big thing. And here you can see where I manipulate the wool, like I have too much of the color up north of the ear, so I just come from it from above and push it towards the bottom at an angle. So here I just kind of play around with the angle that I'm going to make the ear sit by pulling at it, curling it, and so here's the part where you really get the shape of the ear where it adheres to the cat, where you can make it sit straight up, or you can make it curl over, kind of like I'm doing, by where you felt it at the bottom. And I also like to felt on the back of it sort of a pleated style, like to make it pucker a little more, make more of a cup shape. And then you want to make sure that all that fluff helps you anchor it onto the face, and then you just adhere all the fluff to conform to the shape of the face. So just be mindful that you don't distort the shape that you worked hard at on your coral wool stage. And make sure that I have some space in between the ears, so I'm trying to manipulate that a little bit. You have to make the wool work for you. Don't let the wool boss you around. You make it do what you want it to do. Don't be intimidated by your own project. I'm just doing a lot of pulling and tugging. And I also want to do it in such a way that I am still able to show you on camera how and where I'm felting. I don't want to lose my eye indentions, so every once in a while I kind of make sure that I'm tapping those back in, keeping the shape of the face. So I want to secure the back of the ear to the head very well. You could also make one ear fold over and one stick up, but that might be more like for a dog. But it's your cat. You can make it do what you want. Here I'm going to make the eyeballs. No white, just I want really big pupils. So I want to make sure, like the ears, that I have an equal amount of wool for each eye. And I just roll and roll. And then once I have it rolled into a tube, then I start rolling from the end of the tube shape into a ball with fluff left over, so I can felt that, anchor that into the face. And then I take a single needle and go around the entire radius really well. It is going to puff up in the middle, so every once in a while I kind of tap it in the middle as well, just to keep the shape, just to keep it rolling. It's going to look very similar to the mouse for a little bit, but we will get that cat look here soon. I want to show you that the mouse wants a similar friend, but not exactly matching. Just enough similarity that they're not completely twinning. So he does not want this cat to have an exact matching eye patch, but to have a complementary eye patch on the other side of his face. So with the patches, I just leave it a little thinner off to the edges so it looks more natural. And you don't want to felt it in harder than the rest of the face. So once you get the patch on there, you want to felt the same amount that you did where you put the white, so that it blends in and it's not looking like a puckered in white patch. And now I'll put the eye. So it's harder to do if you put the eye first. And I'm ever comparing the sides to one another to make sure that they're the same size eye, and that they're in the same position, they're in the same spot, they line up and everything. And And there's not one that's more forward than the other or more north than the other. So just the same as the other, I just go all around the radius and first, and then I get the middle felted in. Stabbing, 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 stab, 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 stabbing, stabbing. So yes, in one short, I showed you how to make the mouse with a pipe cleaner in pictures. And then the mouse wanted a home, so the mouse got a home, and now the mouse wants a friend, and the mouse gets a kitty friend. This is just a really pretty green that's very bright. It's going to stand out, and it really puts the cat in cat eye. My cats have blue eyes, but I do really like a pretty green cat eye. You know, nothing beats that. I did think about blue, though. But they're Siamese cats, and I don't really see other cats that are not Siamese have blue eyes, so. So I'm just making sure that I cover any black that's on the outer part of the eye with the green, because you don't want it, you want it obviously just to be the pupil. You don't want black where the white of an eye would be. So off camera, I do take care of all of the outer black, cover that with the green. And this is kind of wispy wool that is not short staple. So I really like the way that it works with the circle shape that I'm making here. Okay, so off camera I finished the eyes, and now we're just going to add the little white dot. You want the tiniest little piece, and this just brings the eyes to life, and you don't want a huge piece that overwhelms the eye. Just something to suggest a glint of light in the pupil. It's always in the black, and you want to put them on the same side of each eye so that it doesn't look like the eyes are going in two different directions. It's fun sometimes, more often than not, when I'm felting in the eye dot, it turns out looking like a heart. So sometimes I keep it, sometimes I don't. And just a little whisper of pink, we're going to make the mouth and nose together. So I just twist, before I felt it on, I just twist it into a nice little line. Think of it like drawing, and just do a center line down, and I leave that big poofy part at the top because it will become a nose in just a second. You of course can do a bigger nose. I just wanted a little hint of a nose. I wanted the eyes to stand out. You could also do black for the mouth and nose. And there you have a quick little legless cat. Oh yes, and the white patches, we need some of those. So I'm going to not do an overwhelming amount, but just 3 large patches. Again, you want it to look kind of faded off to the edges. Or, I just like the way that looks more natural. More like splotches instead of spots, very defined spots. I think this this look suits the gray well. So again, you don't want it to look more puckered where the white is. Do an even amount of felting on the gray after you add the white, just so you don't have great big indentions where your spots are added. This would be hard to do if you felted it really firmly to begin with, the core wool and everything. So that's why I leave it sort of loosely felted at the beginning, and then as I add color, as you see, it really it leaves you room to add on and condense your wool more towards the end with the colors. And I also have a general rule whenever I'm just trying to make something look natural. I'll let the wool just lay and felt it where it is instead of trying to define the splotches myself a whole lot. I just kind of throw it on there and then felt it where it landed. And here you have buddies. Thanks for watching.